Hello YouTube and welcome to another video of my How to Level X Mastery series. Today I'm gonna show you how to level a two-handed lightning shaman. Before we start talking about leveling a two-handed shaman in specific, I do want to give you a short overview of the shaman mastery in Grim Dawn. It is a two-handed specialist, a lightning specialist, a pet mastery, and when I say pets, it has both player scale pets, such as the totems, and also true pets, such as the Briar Thorn and the Ram Spirit, and also it has very good vitality and bleed support overall. This basically leads to the following damage types being viable as a shaman: lightning, vitality, bleed, elemental, physical, retaliation, and here mostly lightning and acid retaliation, as well as pets. And here you also have many different damage types for pets. And when it comes to possible endgame builds, a shaman is as wide as any other mastery in Grim Dawn. You have everything from like a lightning two-hander melee or ranged character up to a pet build with like, I don't know, lightning pets, cold pets, or even like some vitality casters, dual wield bleed characters. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with a shaman. I'm gonna post some example builds for endgame setups down below, as well as some leveling setups, midway leveling Grim tools as well in the description below. So make sure to check out the description below for any kind of build links that you wanna follow. So a two-handed shaman is pretty good at exploding hordes of smaller enemies at once, as you could see in the clips in the background, as well as having decent DPS against single targets. And also leveling with a Primal Strike shaman is probably the best way to use the weapon swap mechanic in Grim Dawn, because devotions in Grim Dawn and also skills for a Primal Strike shaman are very similar and almost identical for melee and ranged in Grim Dawn. So a Primal Strike two-handed shaman is in my opinion the best way to play weapon swap in this game. So let us start off with the skill allocation for a shaman. Now we are on my favorite website here, grimtools.com, right? And this is the build calculator, and we are a shaman, obviously. This is how I would allocate points for like the first, say, around 40 levels of a shaman. So level 2, you're gonna get 3 points, right? So you put like 1 point here, 1 point here, and then just 1 point here, right? Now, this might seem a little bit slow, like wait, you're not taking any active skills, what is this? This is gonna assume you're gonna use a two-hander ASAP, and I'm gonna show you where to get that two-hander a little bit later. And then level 3 would be just like 1, 2, 3 basically, right? And then, or like you can also do like 1, 2, 3, doesn't really matter too much. And then at level 4, you're gonna be able to use Primal Strike. So level 4 is gonna be 1, 2, 3. Wait, why only 1 point into Primal Strike? Well, you kinda want to get to Thunderous Strike ASAP to be able to spam Primal Strike as well. So I'm only gonna like put 1 point here while also like progressing up to Thunderous Strike, right? So next level, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, there we go. And from now on, we are able to spam Primal Strike for that two-hander, and this is basically our, well, it's not really a default attack replacer, but we're gonna use it as if it was our default attack, right? So that's gonna be the main default attack, and you can just put it on like your left or right mouse button, whichever you prefer, right? But like move to on the other one, however you would like to play. And you can like start spamming Primal Strike on your enemy's face. And from now on, you do wanna use like 1 point into your mastery bar at every level until you like hit 50 points here. So yeah, next level is gonna be like 1 point here, right? And then you can either put like, at least you're gonna put 1 point here, right? And you could also put like a point into Mogron's Pact now, if you want to, for like more physical damage and like more energy regen. It's not bad at all. And I would probably advise you to do so already now. Now, next level is gonna be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3 maybe. You have to be a little bit careful because Primal Strike does need lots of energy, and if you spam it, you're gonna drain your energy really fast. So if you have energy problems, or like, try to not put too many points into Primal Strike per level, and because you're gonna like run into energy issues rather sooner than later if you put like too many points here at once. So how do you balance damage and energy? Well, you can try to put like not too many points here and just put like more points in your mastery bar instead. Or you could also like, if you put more points here, you could also put some more points into Mogdongan's Pact to like make up for your energy regeneration, right? But yeah, I usually try to also push like 15 because then what you get is Torrent, and Torrent is actually more important than this base skill itself, especially early on for AoE. Because like early on in Grim Dawn, AoE is kinda king, and you do want to like be able to screen clear faster than like kill certain bosses. So yeah, on the next level, you do want to like get a point in the torrent, obviously. You do want to probably also like get a point in the Heart of the Wild. Heart of the Wild is like a really great passive, and especially once you have like skill bonuses to Shaman, which you're probably not going to have at this stage, but later on it's going to be like super good. So yeah, whenever you need like more HP, you can put like more points here. I would definitely not put more than 1 point early on. Definitely no. If you don't have like any pluses to Shaman, which you probably don't have at this stage, you could also like consider not putting any points here at all and like rather just push your master bar a little bit further instead. So yeah, we put like 1 point here, 2 points here, and then we can like put like the 3rd point here as well, because we do want to max this out as well. So I'm gonna like put 2 points here every level now, like 1 point to the mastery. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? I know we already maxed it out. And now I do want to push for Storm Surge, while also like maybe putting like 1 point to the Primal Strike every now and then. Maybe like putting some points in McDrogan's Pact every now and then, right? Like this will depend very much on your energy regen, how it feels like for you. Right, so you could like do, I don't know, like 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, for example. Also, Brute Force is not too bad either. This also gives you HP and also flat lightning damage. This is gonna give you more damage while not needing more energy, so it might be actually better to put some points in Brute Force than into Primal Strike. So you can also do like stuff like 1, 2, 3, right? Or like 1, 2, 3, right? Okay. So now we are at 25 points already, actually. Let me like retract 1 point here. And now you do want to start getting Storm Surge, right? So this is going to be like the 3rd point of the level that I just had. Now the thing about Storm Surge is that this gives you flat lightning and electrical damage towards your Primal Strike ability. And the great thing about Storm Surge compared to Primal Strike is that if you check this out, like it doesn't need that much energy, right? It's like 3, 4, it's like almost no energy increase per level here. So if you also like still have energy problems, try to not max out Primal Strike, try to like max out Storm Surge next instead, right? And also you do have access to Oak Skin now. Oak Skin is very, very good, and I do recommend it to like max this out ASAP. Because it does give you flat armor, pierce resistance, and aether resistance. And those two are like resistances that are really hard to get. And they're really great, especially for like Act 2. Pierce is like really strong for Act 2, for example. Aether is also pretty strong against Krieg, for example. And Pierce is also not too bad against Krieg, actually. And also flat armor is gonna be really good against like all the physical damage that you take, right? So Oak Skin is, in my opinion, a really like a must-have ability ASAP. Like it's really strong endgame, but it's also probably just as strong or even stronger while leveling, to be honest. Unlike Heart of the Wild, which really, because it's like percent based, it's gonna be stronger later than early. This is like strong from like the moment you gain access to this, right? So next level we're gonna like put like 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, and we can do like this game until like we max both of those out, right? So yeah, this is basically how your level 30 is gonna look like, because you do get like 1 additional skill point from the quests from Kasparov, right? So you are at a total of 88 skill points spent right now. And from now on, you have some other options, right? You have this maxed out, you have this maxed out. Still, like, you need to like check your energy. You have like still these 2 nodes to max out. Now you have also like access to the totems, right? You got access to the Wendigo totem at level 20. And you got access to the Storm Totem at level 32, actually. In my opinion, on a Primal Strike character like this, especially early on, the Wendigo Totem alone is not going to do anything for you, because it's like mostly percent-based heal as well. But once you gain access to Blood Pact, it's going to be really good, because Blood Pact gives you lifesteal, right? It's like a lifesteal buff that affects all of your damage, as long as you stand inside this and you get the buff. So we do want to push up to 40, then get the Wendigo Totem, and until then, like, we can put some points here and there, right? So we're gonna do like, so we can take the Storm Totem though, like, putting down the Storm Totem is never wrong. It's like gonna be some additional damage. It's gonna dish out some additional damage while you like, with your weapon, right? So that's not gonna interfere too much with your attacking, right? So you can do like 1, 2, 3, for example, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now 1, right, and then 2, 3, and now you do have 4% lifesteal just from like putting 2 points here and here, and then you put on the totem, and then you basically use the totem as, well, your lifesteal source, right? And that's pretty good. From now on, you do wanna continue on to the exclusive called Stormcaller's Pact. So we do like 1, 2, 3. And you can also like put, when you go like Blood Pact to 2 points for 5%, that's not too bad either. So we do like 1, 2, 3, for example, as well. And now once you have 50 points, right, you're gonna max out Stormcaller's Pact ASAP. And also once you reach like 50 mastery points here, you probably like have enough HP that it's like worth it to like put at least 1 point in the Heart of the Wild. And yeah, you should like put 1 point here, right, and then 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, whatever. And yeah, so you have like Stormcaller's Pact as well maxed out now. And next, you do have one more skill that you do want to use on your Shaman tree to like amplify your damage even more, and that is the Wind Devil. The Wind Devil is here like 1, 2, 3, right? The Wind Devil is here mostly for elemental resistance reduction. And elemental resistance reduction is gonna be, well, your main source of like scaling your damage even higher from now on. And you should like, yeah, 1 point those, 1 point those, maybe like 1 point those as well. And then like try to max out Raging Pampas, right? So we had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There you go. And now we have 148 points spent, so this is basically level 50 now. Wait, what? You're already level 50 and you haven't like even chosen your second mastery yet? I mean, yeah, why do you need a second mastery if like Shaman alone is like so strong for lightning, right? You don't need a second mastery like at level 10. I mean, in some cases it does make sense to choose a second mastery at level 10, but for like a lightning 200 Shaman, I don't think it makes anything sense to like choose a second mastery before you like push all the way to 50 here. You can still like get it before level 50. I mean, yeah, if you like, for example, have some +1 all skills to Shaman, you can like maybe save yourself some points here. But yeah, before we talk about the second mastery, before we talk about like which mastery to choose for the second mastery, because yeah, you can delay that up to like level 50, we're gonna check out the devotions, right? And I'm gonna show you which devotions are going to be the good ones for a two-handed lightning shaman. So this is how it will look for you, right? It will look a little bit darker like this. And there are 2 nodes, or like 2 devotions that you absolutely do have to get. Number 1 is Kraken. Kraken is for two-handers. So this has like insane bonuses for two-handers, like attack speed, HP, damage, crit damage, all damage. Really good. And then next to it is the Arcane Bomb / Widow. This has like Aether damage, which you don't need, but it has like energy, offensive ability, vitality, Aether resistance, lightning damage, there we go, and offensive ability. And then the active is like the most important thing here, because Arcane Bomb is a bomb that like will proc on your abilities, depending on which ability you bind to this, and this does have lightning resistance reduction, and resistance reduction is just mandatory in Grim Dawn if you want to have like good damage in Grim Dawn. So yeah, Arcane Bomb's like the other mandatory devotion for a two-handed lightning shaman. And let me also like show you how I would allocate my tier 1 devotions to get to these 2 tier 2 devotions. So Kraken needs 5 blue, 5 green, right? This one needs 6 green, 4 blue, so they're very similar in what they need. So yeah, which tier 1 devotions do we choose to get these 2 tier 2 devotions? First of all, you can go for the Tsunami if you want to have like early damage from a tier 1 devotion, which I actually do recommend, otherwise damage could be like a little bit low. You could also not take the Tsunami and instead take like the more defensive nodes like Satyr's Guide or Eel. These 2 work pretty well for blues as well. And for greens, since you only need 5 greens, I would just take the Scholar's Light. That's like 1 green here, right? This one has more elemental damage, percent elemental damage, Zeke, the A, defensive ability, elemental resistance, fire damage, which you don't need, but okay. An alternative to Scholar's Light would also be the new Spider, the buffed Spider, which has attack speed here. Like this node is really great for you, right? So you can take the Spider instead as well. The thing about devotions is that you can take out these nodes once you have like these completed, right? They will self-sustain themselves, so you can go back to your Spirit Guide and take out these 2 nodes here. And with those nodes and like additional nodes that you will find, you can like take the Widow and the Kraken. I would suggest you to take the Kraken first because it's gonna be like a bigger DPS increase than the Widow. but you do want to have both of them eventually, right? And if you chose Tsunami first, I would probably switch out of Tsunami once you have Arcane Bomb, and then switch over to Primal Strike and like bind Primal Strike to Arcane Bomb instead of Tsunami. And since you don't really have like any other ability to use this on, except for maybe like Wind Devils or Stone Totems, I mean, maybe you have them by then already and you can still use it. It's possible, but you don't really need those damage anymore once you have Kraken and Widow. These two are gonna boost your DPS like crazy, so you don't really need Tsunami anymore. Next, after these devotions, since Kraken also gives you 2 red devotions, it's gonna enable all the tier 1 red devotions as well. And I do suggest always getting Ghoul. You don't have to complete it, you just need the active here. And this is gonna give you a circuit breaker that drops, or like that procs at 45% HP and gives you like insane lifesteal and insane attack speed and physical resistance. And since Primal Strike is a weapon damage based ability, this will also work for Primal Strike obviously, and it's gonna save you lots of times probably. And yeah, this is basically all you need for mid game, like defensively and offensively. This is gonna carry you a long way. When it comes to tier 3 devotions that you wanna look out for, or that you wanna like aim for, and a 2-handed shaman, since you're probably gonna play melee, maybe even ranged, kinda depends. For melee, I would suggest Spear of the Heavens first. For ranged, I would rather suggest Hand of Ultos first. So these need like 6 red, 10 green, 10 blue, right? Let me give you like an example of how I would get there. You could either just complete Ghoul, right? Put a point here for the 6 reds, or you could also like put a point here, or like complete Ghoul and get Jackal on top. Jackal is pretty good as well because it does have total speed and like physical resistance here as well. Also, Jackal does allow you to get the Revenant devotion, which is really great as well, because well, Revenant has flat resistance reduction as well as attack speed and casting speed, which, I mean, you don't need casting speed. This has like these skeletons here that, well, you would need like another skill for those, but you can, for example, just like 1 point Grasping Wands, right, and then you proc them on your Grasping Wands, and these do reduce resistances as well. And for the remaining greens, you could either just go for the Scorer's Light. This is probably better for melee right now, and also like more point efficient than taking Hawk and a green node here. But Hawk is gonna give you more offensive ability as well as cunning reduction for ranged weapons. So if you're playing ranged Primal Strike, I would definitely get Hawk ASAP after these like mid-game devotions. And yeah, this will like decrease the amount of cunning that you need to wield a ranged weapon, right? And then you just go for Ultos and put this to, say, Wind Devils or Stone Totem, right? For example, there we go. And after this, you just need some like defenses, and you're kinda already fine for like a ranged build. When it comes to a melee shaman, like melee 2-handed shaman, I will definitely try to get the Spear of the Heavens. I mean, Jackal and this is still great. Just need like, for example, Grasping Wands to proc this, or like a skill from your second mastery. And you just need some more blues, right? So for example, Eel is great, and since you don't have Ultos, I would probably grab the Viper as well, and then you don't need this node, for example, and then you can get the Spear of the Heavens. That's like a passive proc that will proc whenever you get hit, right? And it actually deals some pretty good damage, so it's really good. And the Viper is really great here as well, because this Viper has the type C resistance reduction that's like percent reduced, which Ultos has as well. And if you don't have Ultos but still have weapon damage, Viper is really great because it also will apply this type C resistance reduction with your default attacks, or like with Primal Strike, for example. So yeah, these will probably be like the essential devotions for a melee lightning Primal Strike character. You have like additional 8 points. You could like go for Dying God, for example, to get more crit damage and more total speed and more offensive and defensive ability. You could also go like for more defenses, like sort of Watcher, maybe even Obelisk of Menhir, right, or Knight of Empyrean. Some defensive options here available as well. Now, when it comes to your choice of second mastery, you have several options for a lightning 2-handed shaman. Number 1 being Inquisitor. Inquisitor is really good, especially for ranged characters and also caster shamans. As Inquisitor, you probably go for Aura of Sender though instead of this. So once you like have Inquisitor maxed out as well, you like drop Stonecolor's Pact and go for Order of Century as well. And you also get like stuff like Word of Renewal, the Inquisitor Seal is really great as well. Deadly Aim is a good spell, like good passive node. These nodes are really good as well, all of these are really good. This one is especially good for two-handers. Yeah, that's actually all you need for like a Vindicator, which is a Shaman Inquisitor. You can also use Stormbox on top to like proc some stuff. That's like really good for proccing stuff. And yeah, that's basically like how Inquisitor would support a two-handed Lightning Shaman pretty well. Another option would be Soldier, the traditional Warder style. Right, so a Warder would go for like Min here as well, which is like another circuit breaker for two-handers and shields. In this case we have a two-hander, so this works. Also military conditioning is gonna be great. This is good. This is, well, not that great actually. It's like okay if you like want to like reduce your physique, but other than that it's not that great. But Field Command and like Squad Attacks here are must-have, as well as Warcry for damage reduction, and a 1-pointer into Break Morale. And then these nodes help you with like Elemental and Slow Resistance. This one will help you with Bleed, Stun and Freeze Resistance, and as well as Armor Absorption. These are really good. Yeah, that's basically it for like a Warder that you wanna go for. You're not gonna be able to use these weapon pool skills and also not Feral Hunger here. Keep that in mind. Primal Strike is not a default attack replacer, so it does not proc weapon pool skills such as Feral Hunger or Markovin's Advantage or Zonhan's Technique, so these are gonna be useless. Also, if you play a Warder, make sure to get Blitz and Blindside as well for the extra mobility and extra DA reduction. Next up we have the Demolitionist as your secondary. You could also like choose to go for a Elementalist, because Flame Touch, for example, while it only gives you like fire damage, it also has lightning damage percent, right? Temper is pretty decent as well. I mean, you put some points here. Thermite Mine for the elemental resistance reduction is pretty good, as well as Blast Shield for defense and Vindictive Flame for total speed. Could like put a 1-pointer in Udzin's Wrath, as well as Flashbang is really good for Fumble, Impaired Aim. The A reduction, which like further will amplify your damage, it's really good as well. Also, Blackwater Cocktail is a good thing for offensive ability reduction and also physical damage reduction to enemies. You can also go for like 40 points here, and if you want to grab Agonizing Flames, because this is flat resistance reduction, and flat resistance reduction is pretty good. But if you take this node, you have to remind yourself that you're gonna have to spec out of Raise the Dead. Not taking Raise the Dead, it's gonna free up some more devotion points for you, right? So it's like basically a trade-off between having to use another skill and like investing mastery points, or like having this devotion, or like having more devotion points, right? Kind of depends what you want to go for. Most of the time though, the devotion points are probably gonna be more valuable. So yeah, this is pretty good for a Elementalist as well. Next up we have the Conjurer, so Occultist as your secondary, and Conjurer has pretty good physical resistance as well as acid resistance here, acid and poison resistance here. Also a Conjurer, you probably only need like 32 points actually here. Yeah, also Occultist has vulnerability, which is elemental resistance reduction, as well as minus DA, so this is really good for lightning builds as well. And also you have attack speed on Solaris Witchfire, which is great for a Primal Strike character as well. And also second right, you can pump this up if you need like vitality resistance, but other than that it's not gonna give you anything, right? So yeah, the Occultist is always like a really good support mastery, even for elemental. Really good also for two-handed Primal Strike. Next up we got the Arcanist. The Arcanist is a Druid, right? So this is pretty good as well, in my opinion. It's a little bit more defensive than some others, but also has good crit damage actually, and it has, well, some more like racial damage here against Ethereals and Chthonians, right? Some more energy and skill energy cost reduction, so you can like you probably have like an easier time to be able to sustain and spam Primal Strike. You probably don't need as many points here then. Then you also have the allocation. This is really great because it does remove buffs on enemies as well as debuffs on yourself. Then you have Mirror of Erioctus, like the perfect panic button, the best panic button in the game. Inner Focus, gonna increase your offensive ability as well as your spirit. Note that lightning damage scales of spirit, so this is pretty good as well for lightning damage. And then Maven Sphere is like total damage absorption, really good. Conversion, which is like a bunch of stun resistance, so like CC resistances overall, really good as well. So yeah, Arcanist is awesome. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the second mastery choices. I mean, Nightblade, Necromancer, Oathkeeper are not really that good for lightning two-handers. But yeah, like Soldier, Demolitionist, Arcanist, Inquisitor, and Occultist as well. Like these 5 classes are really, really good for two-handed Primal Strike characters. One more thing that you can also invest in the end game, especially once you have like more skill points, is Savagery on top. And especially for Tenacity of the Boar as well as Storm Touch. Note that this thing will give you more attack speed as well. And this thing gives you like offensive and defensive ability as well as slow resistance. And also Might of the Boar, of the Bear actually in this case, gives you more damage. But it's only like 2 Savagery, so that's not important. But the important thing is the 8% physical resistance. And physical resistance is a really good defensive stat that is like not too easy to get. And it's gonna be... It's not that important while leveling, but like in the end game it's really important. Yeah, like if you have especially like some bonus skills to Shaman, you have some more like skill points to play around with, you will like hopefully find the skill points left to like take Savagery on top. And the way how you play this, I mean, this is a default attack replacer, but you're not gonna use it as a default attacker, right? You're just gonna use it like as a buff on your bar. Like use this every now and then in melee or like in range form. Just to like have at least 1 stack of the Savagery buff active at all times. Like these 2 nodes will always have 100% effectiveness as long as you have at least 1 stack. Like the amount of stacks only matters if you use this for damage. If you don't use this for damage, if you just use it as a buff, you only need to have at least 1 stack active all the time. As long as you have 1 stack, you will get 100% of this and 100% of this. So yeah, try to maintain this with like 1 stack. But that's like kinda advanced endgame mechanics, you don't need this for leveling at all. In my opinion, you should only like start caring about this like in the endgame. Okay, so next I wanna show you some items that you should look out for while leveling a two-handed lightning Primal Strike Shaman. First of all, you have the Headless Greatsword. This is a level 1 item that you can get in Devil's, like right outside of Devil's Crossing and Lower Crossing. I'm gonna show you how to get this at the end of the video when I'm gonna show you like the first 4 to 5 levels on like a Shaman. And after this Headless Greatsword, your next upgrade is gonna become any yellow or green two-hander that you find, right? Any of these white bases. I don't know, let's take like a, scrap metal warsword here, right? And then you wanna look out for lightning damage or attack speed on these. Charged, for example, or Maelstrom, etc. All these lightning damage prefixes are good, and for the suffixes, all lightning damage suffixes are good, like Spell Weaving that hits lightning damage, of Thunder, of Celestial Wrath, of Fallen Skies, Ferocity, and so on, right? Just it has to have like percent lightning damage or flat lightning damage added to the weapon. The other thing you would like to look out for is attack speed, so for example Barbaric is like a rare prefix. But like the most common one is going to be Off Alacrity. So if you find like any two-hander that has Off Alacrity, that's probably going to be really good. And if you want to play two-handed ranged instead, look for any two-handed ranged weapon that has lightning damage on the pre and suffix or attack speed. Now next up I'm also going to show you the green MIs that you can look out for Primal Strike. MI stands for Monster Infrequent. This means that these are items that will drop from specific monsters infrequently, but that also means that these items are target farmable, right? If you kill certain enemies, they will always like have a chance to drop these items, and you can kind of like target farm weapons this way. So number 1 is gonna be the Corvin Storm Halberd. This is a item that is from Act 7, so if you don't have Forgotten Gods, you will not be able to get this weapon. And it is dropping from all these guys here, right? You can like go to Grim Tools and like check out this weapon and click on all of these and you will like see where they spawn and where you can find them and where you can farm them, right? Basically these are like all these like big watcher guys that have like 200 spears in their hands, right? These are like, they're classified as axes because Grim Dawn doesn't have spears, but they basically look like spears, right? And they give you +4 Primal Strike and have more weapon damage to Primal Strike. They also give you like CDR to Primal Strike if you don't wanna like spam Primal Strike. That said, these are still better for like spamming Primal Strike. Now the other monster infrequent I want to show you is the Agdenborg Spark Thrower. This is a item that drops in Act 5, so in the Agden Bog, and it drops from the big tree guys like Agdenborg Golem, Mossflinger, Overgrowth, and so on, like all the elites as well. And this one is a 200 range weapon, so if you want to like play two-handed ranged, Primal Strike, this is probably the best weapon that you can get. And it has base attack speeds, and then if you can like roll pre or suffixes on that with like, attack speed and lightning damage, it's gonna be even more awesome, right? +4 to Stormbox of Elgoloth, so that's like an Inquisitor skill, and +4 to Primal Strike, and also more crit damage to Primal Strike. This will start dropping at around level 40. Like the lowest that you can get is for level 40, so yeah, this like will take you quite a while until like you get here. Also, again, because this is a Act 5 item, you will not be able to farm this item unless you have the first expansion, Ashes of Mammoth. Next, I'm also gonna show you some blue items that you should like look out for, because blue items aren't as rare as purple legendary items. They are basically unique items, but they have like a decent chance to drop, and maybe you'll get lucky and find one of these while leveling. So first off, we have the Falcon's Claw. This is a level 19 item, so you can get this rather early. And it has +4 Primal Strike, offensive ability on it, and also like a Chain Lightning at proc here. This is really awesome. If you find this, really good. This weapon also have a empowered version. This one is for level 558, and also like a random drop. +4 Torrent, +4 Primal Strike, so it's really good for Primal Strike. These two items are vanilla items, so you can find them if you have just a vanilla game, and you will also find them if you have like the expansions as well. This does not have an endgame version though, it does not have a mythical version, unfortunately. But yeah, for leveling, these are really good. Next up we have the White Collar Decapitator. This axe is part of a set, like the White Collar set, and the empowered White Collar Skull in this case, right? And so the normal version is like level 20 items, so again, kinda the same level as the Falcon's Claw. Falcon's Claw and the White Collar's Decapitator are both really good, and if you find these, you should probably use them. Empowered White Collar's Decapitator level 65, so again, kind of the same level range as the Empowered Falcon's Claw again, and also, yeah, pretty good here. On top of that, if you're lucky enough to like get the full set here or here, which is kind of hard, to be honest, while leveling, you will have like an awesome blue Shaman set already as well. This weapon is, again, a vanilla item, so you can find it in vanilla, AOM, or FG, and it will drop anywhere, it's a random drop. But also this weapon has unfortunately no endgame version, like for AOM or FG, there's no mythical version of this. So this is like for endgame expansion content, it's not viable unfortunately. Also you have two very good faction items that you can also use, the Legion Warblade and the Elite Legion Warblade. The Legion Warblade and the Elite Legion Warblade are both from the Black Legion, obviously. So that means that you have to like have a certain reputation with the Black Legion to be able to buy these items from their faction vendor. It should be rather easy to get to these though, because they're not required that you like to have high reputation with them. I believe this is like only for like friendly or something like that, or respected, and this one maybe for honored. So you don't even have to be like revered or so to get these. Should be rather easy to get. This one level 50, this one level 70. They have lightning damage and attack speed, so basically yeah, what you want for Primal Strike as well. And also like this lightning bolt effect here as well. Especially the level 51 is really good. In between, say, a Falcon's Claw and the Empowered Falcon's Claw, or like in between a White Collar's Decapitator or a Empowered White Collar's Decapitator, or like in between any of the green miles that you found earlier maybe. This weapon is really good to like fill the gap in between for like level 50. Also, two-handed ranged has some faction items that you can also like look out for. For example, the Chosen's Bolter from Common's Chosen, Devil's Musket of Devil's Crossing, and then also some items here from the Homestead faction on the Rovers. The best one for Primal Strike would probably be the Chosen Bolter from Common's Chosen, because it has lightning damage as well as offensive ability. Now, when it comes to endgame sets, obviously the Ultos set, it's like a 5-piece Shaman set actually. You have the non-mythical version, Ultos Storm, which is a level 75 set, has a chest, an amulet, a hood, shoulder piece, and an axe. This is going to be especially interesting for you if you're just playing vanilla and not playing any expansion content, because vanilla max level is level 85, right? And then also we have the mythical version of this, Ultos' Tempest. And this one has again a chest, well, basically the same items, just like mythical, and these are level 94 as you can see. And if you have at least one expansion, this is gonna be like what you want to like look out for in the end game. But you have to like note that these are all random drops, and they're pretty hard to get, especially like if you're a new player. So you still would like to have some other options maybe. And yeah, the other option for melee would again be the Cauldron Storm Herald, even for endgame, because this one scales up to level 94. You can even find these at level 94. And then roll like some crazy pre and suffixes on these maybe, or like just something like charged of alacrity is gonna be good enough. Probably one of the best Primal Strike endgame weapons that you can get. And yeah, as I said before, these are target farmable. If you don't find any other of the random drops like Wild Collar or Ultos or all the other stuff around, you can always go to these areas and kill these guys. And again, for ranged Primal Strike, if you have at least the Ashes of Mammoth expansion, the Spark Thrower is gonna be the best option for you if you want to like spam Primal Strike with a ranged weapon. Because this one again also scales up to level 94. You can get like a level 94 item here with like charged of alacrity, for example. Really good, rather easy to get actually in the end game. Just like farm these big trees here, and you're gonna get this one eventually. In addition to the Spark Throwers, ranged Primal Strike Shaman also has Ulda Jugs and Raka Jugs. Ulda Jugs is a blue two-handed item for level 58. It is a blueprint item, which means it's a craftable item, but you have to like find the blueprint first. It is a random drop, but it can also be sold by these two guys around Benevolt and Vinalton. So this guy is in the Blood Grove. You can like click on the map here and then you will see where they are at. Just go to like grunttools.com, item database, search for Ulda Jugs, and you will find this blueprint as well. And then also you have Raka Jugs. Raka Jugs is basically the legendary version of Ulda Jugs. There is a level 75 and a level 94 version of this. It's also a craftable, at least the 75 version. The mythical version is a random drop. So if you're like lucky enough to get the blueprint, you can craft this one as well. And like you can also buy this blueprint in the Ancient Grove, or at least like have a chance to buy it there, because Vinalton, the shop guy in the Ancient Grove, like he rotates between blueprints. So yeah, it's kind of RNG whether or not you actually get this. It's like an additional pretty nice way to get this blueprint if you have at least the first expansion. Also note that both Ulda Jugs and Raka Jugs are also vanilla items, so you can get the blueprints for Ulda Jugs and Raka Jugs in the vanilla game already. Mythical Raka Jugs, being a mythical version, is obviously a Ashes of Mammoth item that you can only get if you have at least the first expansion. Note that both Ulda Jugs and Raka Jugs don't have any attack speed though, so they're actually not that great for like spamming Primal Strike. They are like meant to be more for like a cooldown based Primal Strike. So if you just want to spam Primal Strike, the Spark Thrower is by far the best item. Like this is the BIS item for that. Also endgame Primal Strike has faction item possibilities, for example like the Mammoth Carbine for ranged and the Mammoth Greatsword for melee. So I'm not gonna go into detail when it comes to like armor or anything else than the weapons here for you, because Grim Dawn is mainly about getting your resistances up to 80%, or like all the pieces except for your weapons. You should usually just try to like get as tanky as possible, otherwise you will, at least in the higher difficulties, you will just die. And so because of that, yeah, I'm gonna leave these open. But don't forget to always like check out faction vendors as well regularly, like Comets Chosen, the Death's Vigil, all these guys, Devil's Crossing, right? They all sell armor pieces for chest, shoulder, ham slot, and gloves, as well as boots. And now we also got new belts from the factions, or like the belts from the factions got buffed actually. So you can see these have like, these are blueprints, right? So you can buy the blueprints from the factions, and then you can craft the belts at the smith. And for a shaman, for example, you have this solar belt. You can buy this one in the faction homestead, and you can use this at level 35 plus, and it gives you +1 all skills to shaman. Also lightning damage as a base, and then you roll suff or prefix on top of those, I believe, as well as your crafting bonus from the smith. So these are really good now as well for like starters. There's also a level 50 version for this. Then also Bismian has a level 65 version of a shaman's belt, level 70 homestead version of a shaman's belt, and level 90 Bismil version of a shaman's belt. As well as the legendary craftable White Lotus item that is a level 65 faction item as well. You can buy the blueprint here at one of these 3 factions as well and craft this White Lotus for you. So last but not least, I also want to show you like the first 5 levels in the game as a shaman. So this is where we start out, and you accept the first quest, and then you're gonna make your way through Devil's Crossing onto Lower's Crossing.
You're not looking the you will need.
Also, don't forget to do the small trick here, right? Turn the camera a bit, grab this lore node, turn it back, and this will always give you almost level 2. Then you kill like 1 or 2 zombies here, or like rather 3 or 4. Don't forget to click on this corpse, and then we already get a pistol. And we are level 2. So we can start being a shaman, right? And you can't see where I'm going here, right? So I'm gonna go to the house where we get the two-hander. This is this one over here. And then you click on this corpse, and here you will always get Heaven's Greatsword. I even got lucky and got a suffix on it. So we're gonna equip this one. And now I can't quite use Primal Strike yet, right? But I can just use Brute Force and just like put a little bit further here. Brute Force, if you check this out, like 40-60 DPS right now, 61 right now, so it does give me like a little bit more DPS for like single target. And that's gonna be a little bit rough here until we finally get Primal Strike. But at least I'm like one-shotting these guys. So yeah, this is also where you would find the axe. If you want to like play a net blade, you always go here first and get this axe, Almond's axe. And I'm gonna backtrack a little bit here, try to get the lore notes here from these houses as well, because lore does give you some experience, and especially early on it's pretty nice. There we go. And I'm gonna backtrack a little bit further even into this house. If you wanna, for example, play an Inquisitor with dual guns or a Demolitionist with a gun early on, this is where you go. You go here and grab Francis's note and gun. I'm just gonna go here for the experience, because I do want to have Primal Strike to kill the one first mini-boss under the tree. And yeah, we just push to Primal Strike here, right? So in the next level I'm gonna be able to use it. So I kinda want like level 4 before I actually fight that guy. And I mean, for attributes, you should usually just like pump everything in physique, right? And then just like pump some points into cunning and spirit that you need to like wield your weapons or to equip your medals and rings. And as a melee shaman, you probably will end up just putting everything into physique. If you're playing ranged, you might have to like put some more points into cunning to like equip some ranged like two-handers, right? And then in this house you have some more lore notes. You have the Journals of Inquisitor Creed, right? I mean, if you're playing on normal and not on veteran, right, you can probably face this guy under the tree even without Primal Strike, to be honest. Because have his great sword and just the 1 point in brute force is gonna give you enough damage. So you can just try this here. If you're like playing on veteran, I would definitely like advise you to get level 4 first. Oh yeah, okay, this guy on normal is like a joke actually. Never mind. And yeah, we got some loot here. And we are level 4 now, so we can finally use Primal Strike, right? Yeah, that's how like I wanna like push for Thunder Strike ASAP. Just gonna like push one point into Primal Strike. I can just use it on my left mouse button because like when this is off cooldown, my character will still like use default attacks, as you can see. So there's like no problem to put this on your left or right mouse button depending on what you prefer. If you want to like have more control over this at level 3, you can, or like at level 4 rather, you can also like put Primal Strike like on one of your active buttons here, and I'm gonna save Faldas here. If I was like clicking right, maybe I would be able to save him, but I'm not. There we go. And also we actually got a new item, this one, Chilled Scrap Metal Greatsword. But as you can see, this has basically the same damage, right? It is like +0 damage increase here. Yeah. It is for Primal Strike, but the thing is, like, I have Primal Strike right now here, and this is like cooldown based, right? So it doesn't really show me like my weapon damage DPS. And if you compare it now, you will see that the new sword actually gives me more damage. At least for default attacks. It's just like for Primal Strike, for the one Primal Strike hit I'm doing every now and then in between, it has the same damage, but like for default attacks that I'm doing in between, it still deals more damage, so it's still an upgrade. Maybe because it doesn't really like show you the proc in DPS, so actually because of this proc, the old one might still be better actually, right? Also we have a yellow pants, maybe I should wear that, right? Also, if you're wondering why I don't like have to click all this stuff to like collect it, I have loot item. Where is it? Auto loot materials. There we go. So like all the materials will be auto looted, just like iron belts. And also I use a key for item pickup. This one over here, pickup, and I put it on like a mouse button. So I just have to like click a mouse button to, for example, I don't have to like click on this with my mouse, right? I can just like stand next to it and then like click the mouse button that I've assigned it to, and then the character will still pick it up. That's pretty handy as well. And yeah, I would like to be level 5 before I fight the boss down here in the cave. Let's group them up for the Primal Strike hit. There we go. And there we go, we are level 5. Which means I can now push for Thunderous Strike. I still don't have it though, I need level 6 for that, right? So I'm gonna show you like an additional level here. Should also pump this into physique. And yeah, as I said, like the first 5 to 6 levels are gonna be a little bit rough. Using just like trying to go and aim for Primal Strike ASAP. If you want like a smoother progression here in the first 6 levels, you can also choose to go for Devouring Swarm a bit. And this ability is gonna like kill everything really quick. But it's gonna like delay your Primal Strike and Thunderous Strike a little bit, so yeah, like do what you prefer here. Maybe this boss is like actually easy enough though. On normal at least, yeah. Alright, we did not get a new 2 in there, right? But we got a new ring at least. Also, don't forget to go back here, because here you have your first shrine. So your first devotion shrine, right? Just gonna give you your first devotion point. It's just cost like 1 Aether Crystal, I mean we should have those, right? And if you check out the devotions, yeah, as I said, like you can, for example, aim for the tsunami first, if you want to, or like aim for the spider first. You do want to go for the Kraken as your like first tier 2, so make sure to like go for 5 greens and 5 blues, right? So tsunami and spider, or like eel and spider is gonna be like the choice in my opinion. If you don't want to go for the tsunami, I would start with the spider and grab this attack speed node first, like green here, here, here. If you do want to go for tsunami though, I would suggest you to go like for blue first and take tsunami. And then after that, you take the spider. And yeah, I mean, we're already almost level 6. I mean, I could just like go back to town, right? Talk to Mr. John Bourbon and get level 6 that way. Or I can just like kill these rats here, get level 6, and now finally show you off the Thunderous Strike, right? Do it like this, for example. Now we can spam those, right? There's like a small mini boss here that I can show you as well for like spamming this stuff, right? This guy here, right? So yeah, we have like huge lightning damage on every single hit. It's pretty nice, pretty fun. It's a fun build. And yeah, if you like big fat two-handers and big fat lightning damage, this is what you should aim for. Shaman is the class for you. And I also wanna thank you guys for watching this video here with me. And also check out my other videos. I have some Endgame Shaman videos already on YouTube and also some additional coming up. So check out my channel regularly for updates on Shaman classes as well as any other classes in Grim Dawn. I am gonna try to have a build for every single class eventually. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it's gonna help you level a Shaman. Feel free to give me a thumbs up and also leave a sub here, as well as check out my Twitch channel. I usually stream 3 times a week, mostly Grim Dawn, and I hope to see you there or on the next video.